What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith, and welcome to the Nerdy Narrative. On this channel, I like to talk about all sorts of bookish-related things, whether it be science fiction, fantasy, horror, manga, comics, nonfiction, literary fiction, classics, you name it, I'll read it. Today is Friday, and that means it is time for my weekly reading wrap-up. That's where I fill you in on any announcements I have, any book mail I've received, what I read, what I'm still reading, and what I plan to read next. Funny story. I sat down to film this today, and I didn't have any book mail to mention, so I skipped over it. But then I looked down at an alert on my phone and saw the camera get activated by motion, and I saw it was an Amazon person. So I went down to get the box. So let's see what we got. This is a lot of books. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Now, there is no ticket in here, but I do know who these are from because she told me yesterday to be expecting a box. And that's Evie from the channel. She was only Evie. And recently, if you didn't see it, I reviewed Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. And I just had a very strong emotional reaction to that book. It was not on my TBR, and then when I decided to read it, I had no intention of reviewing it, but it just struck me in such a way that I had to. And I mentioned I wanted to read more by her. So I have here by Zora Neale Hurston, The Complete Stories. And I also have Moses, Man of the Mountain. Oh my gosh, this cover is gorgeous. And this one is Jonah's Gourd Vine. Look at that cover, guys. That is freaking gorgeous. And this one is Hitting a Straight Lick with a Crooked Stick. Look at these covers. Seraph on the Swanee. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Evie. Evie did mention she had an ulterior motive. She was wanting to read more by Zora Neale Hurston as well. And so now she's going to have a buddy to read these with. Oh man. And the ones that are the Harper Perennial Modern Classic ones, these three have interviews and insights included. Man. This is amazing. I cannot wait to read these. Oh my gosh. Evie, thank you so very much. Okay, let's slide into what I read last week. And the first thing that I completed is The Drawing of the Three by Stephen King, which is book 2 in the Dark Tower series. Holy smokes. Every single one of you that told me this one was your favorite in the series, I 100% see why. This story is amazing. I mean, my mind is just blown with what Stephen King is doing with this series. I wasn't expecting it. I think I just have this incorrect opinion of Stephen King and what he writes. I am loving the series. Just what he did with this book coming off of The Gunslinger, like I enjoyed The Gunslinger. I know a lot of people found it boring and just didn't care for it, but there are tie-ins that I really appreciated. I'm so glad that I read The Gunslinger because there were some things in here that I would not have appreciated if I hadn't read The Gunslinger. There was a couple of throwbacks to it. There was something that happened in this one that just made me very happy because one thing that really upset me about The Gunslinger was kind of fixed in this one. I hope. We don't really have any major confirmation, although I think it's going to come later. But I absolutely enjoyed this. In fact, I'm going to do a dedicated review on it, so be looking for that in the coming weeks. I'm still working on it. I have so many thoughts and things I want to talk about, and I think I'm going to have to make it a spoiler-filled discussion because I don't know how to talk about this book without talking spoilers, because a lot of my enjoyment and things that I loved would just be spoilers. And you know what? This book, the series, has been out for long enough. I think it'll be okay. Next up on what I read issues 21 through 30 of the creator-owned comic Nailbiter. Wow, what an epic conclusion to this series. I read the series over the last 3 weeks in chunks of 10 issues, and I literally think I could have binged all 30 issues in one sitting if I could have. I loved this comic. It's a horror comic, but it's classified as a horror comic, but I'm more of the opinion that it was a true crime thriller mystery. So if you're interested in hearing more on that, I did film a review for it. I hope to have that up on the channel in the next couple of weeks, so be watching for that. That takes care of everything that I completed. And you may be thinking to yourself, you only finished one book and 10 issues of a comic. What were you doing with your week? Well, your girl here started 5 other books. I don't know what happened. I just kept starting books. They're all good. So now I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place of what to pick up because they're all so freaking good. Let me tell you about it. So there I was. I was just floating around on the Literary Discourse Discord, and I saw that Una created a channel for As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. And I thought to myself, that book wasn't on my TBR. I had no interest in reading it. And then I was on Libby getting the audiobook from my library, and I started listening to it while cooking dinner one night, and then suddenly I was just swept up by the characters in this story. Faulkner just has an amazing way with words and how he develops his character, and the way that their chapters are just written with their stream of consciousness and how they're dealing with death and grief and the hardships of the time that the story takes place in. I mean, I just found myself absolutely engrossed in this story, but I am currently about 52% of the way through that one. I'm really enjoying the audiobook. There are 4 different narrators with it, which really helps because there's a lot of characters and the narrators help me learn who is who because of the different voices. But I have really enjoyed that one in audiobook. But unfortunately, this is one that I need to have in physical form. I need to read this again physically. I need this book in my hands, because it's just one of those that I feel the need to see it with my eyes and feel it in my hands to just really immerse myself again. Then for my Kindle read, I picked up The Gulp by Alan Baxter. This is a buddy read that I'm doing with Jay from J Maddox Entertainment. The Gulp is a collection of 5 short stories that all take place in Gulp, which is located in Australia. Currently, Jay and I have read the first 2 stories in this little collection. So what I can tell you at this point is this is my first experience with reading any of Alan Baxter's work. So I am most impressed right now by his writing style. I like his writing style. He does use terminology and wording that is based on Australia and its culture, so some of the words you might not be familiar with, like instead of a trunk of a car, he says the boot, which I just got really tickled by. Outside, it's the bush. I just loved it. So it's been a fun experience as far as that, but so far I'm most taken by his writing style. I'm really enjoying it. It's very easy to read, and then just his storytelling based off of those first 2 stories, I like it. But it feels like right when the story began, he ended it, if that makes sense. I needed more. It had just really gotten good. Like the scene had been set, the characters introduced and developed, and then it ended. So we'll see how that goes as I finish my way through that collection. And I also started my guilty pleasure, which is Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. It's the 2nd book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I am loving this little series. I just love it. I mean, I'm almost done with it. Man, I can just read through these books super fast. I have enjoyed this book, not quite as much as Shadow and Bone, but I am just as invested and excited to read it. There was something that happened at the beginning of this one that just felt a little too easy to me, and then the love triangle is kind of starting to piss me off a little bit. In a story, when you have a couple and they want to be together, but something gets in between that, and then something else does, and then something else does. I don't mind if that happens a little bit, but when it just keeps getting drawn out, like, I don't care for that. Either end it or put them together, or just don't do that. With me being almost to the end of the book, I feel like that little issue is going to continue through the end of this one. I hope it does not take place in the third one. So we'll have to see how that goes. But as far as the plot, I'm freaking loving it. I am so in. I want to be a Grisha. I am just trash for this series. I love this world. I can't wait for the show to come out. But of course, I do still have to get through Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, which I have on deck. And then the final book that I am still currently working on is Severed by Joshua Marcella. Woo! This book is so good. I reached chapter 9 in early evening, and with what happened in chapter 9, I knew I needed to stop before it started getting dark and getting late. I wanted to continue, but I was warned by my friend Sharon. She was like, she's like, I'm on chapter 11 and some stuff just happened. She's like, I know how you are, so don't read any more tonight. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to read any more until tomorrow afternoon when the sun is shining and I can see everything around me clearly. So I am excited. I am planning to finish this one today, so I just have to know what's going to happen. Scratches was Joshua Marcella's debut novella, and it was good. I love the story. I thought it was written really great. But man, it just feels like somehow he stepped it up another level in this book. I am just absolutely in love with it. It is such a great horror story. Josh did what I absolutely love in my horror stories, and that is he started with the action. In a horror book, page 1, I want a taste of what is to come. And that was delivered, and it was delivered so well. The story takes place, we've got a group of Marines. They're over there in Vietnam. And I just felt like his descriptions were so well. My dad served in Vietnam, and I have pictures from when he was there. And so when he was describing the flora, I could just see it so well. Like, it just matched those pictures that my dad has from when he served over there. I loved how he described the camaraderie between the Marines. It felt very real, very authentic. Severed is way scarier than Scratches was, in my opinion. I am enjoying it immensely. I can't wait to get to the conclusion. I'm also really excited because I saw on Twitter that this is actually going to be a trilogy. So we got one more coming in this story. And remembering how Scratches ended, I think I know where he might be going, and I'm very excited to find out. Alright, so that takes care of what I read and what I'm reading. Let's talk about what I'm going to read next. So as soon as I get a couple of these other books knocked out, I plan on starting The Conductors by Nicole Glover. I'm going to be buddy reading that with Sharon from the channel Sharon Dwyer. And that is an arc that I was so graciously approved for on NetGalley. I'm a little behind on getting that one read and reviewed because I do believe it came out on March 2nd. And I will also be continuing my journey through the First Law trilogy with Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. This is a read-along that I'm participating in with Yolene Reads and Steve Talks About Books and Stuff. I'll have both of their channels linked below, and also a link to the Creeping Death forums where we are having our discussion as we read through these books. I am very excited to see what happens in this installment. I hear I'm going to get a lot of plot in this one. A lot of my friends have read it recently and just absolutely gushed over it. So I can't wait to see what I'm going to think. So that was my week of reading. What about you guys? What all did you work on this past week? Anything good? Anything I need to know about? I hope your morning has gotten off to a great start. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.